I want to go to one thing just in terms of one more example of why
Mhm.
we can't allow this to stand. You have some very moving passages that I hardly dare read as a father and grandfather about the damage to children
Mhm.
in terms of religious rights being put above everything else, whether it's corporal punishment. I mean, you have this line that actually have a hard time saying here, the shape of a coat hanger on a little child's cheek where they've been beaten in the name of religious liberty, and your whole discourse on, well, I believe God told me to do this. You have these shocking stories, and there's so many of them. You're just wishing as you read this, come on, Andrew, you're exaggerating. This can't be true. This can't be true.
Yeah.
They're all true. So we're going to have to wrap this up in a minute. But, I had talked with Marcy Hamilton about this and Kate Cohen
Yeah.
and others. And I just want to make sure that people understand that this is not some sort of legal framework and we're worried about, Justice Thomas this is children. And, if religion in a positive sense is about anything, family or rights or whatever, when you see the brutality of the Paxtons of this world, when they affirm their idea of religious liberty includes beating children, includes a kind of a homeschool movement that likes to remove their kids from the world so they can do to them whatever they think God's telling them to do. I'll just leave it there. And then, we
Yeah.
will wrap some of this up, but please go there a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, especially, I think this is a really important point, especially now because we're seeing this sort of another wave of like quote unquote parental rights being used by Christian nationalists, by groups like Moms for Liberty, to
Yeah.
as an attempt to kind of undermine and destroy, really destroy public education.
Yeah.
But so often children end up being the victims of this. And the overall point that I think it's crucial for people to understand is none of our rights or freedoms are absolute, with the possible exception of our right to think freely.
Mm.
Every single right that we possess as an American comes with certain limits, including your Second Amendment. Try to carry a gun to the Supreme Court or onto a plane, right? Like our freedom of speech is limited by you can't make actual death threats against somebody, right? That is illegal. And this holds for religious freedom too. And one of the things that we are seeing, one of the ways that they are trying to weaponize religious freedom specifically for this one chosen group of Christians is to remove all of those limits. But historically, religious freedom has never been an absolute right. It has always come with limits. And those limits often begin where the rights of other people begin. Right. There's this old legal adage that your right to swing your fist ends where the other person's nose begins.
Mm.
Your right to exercise your religion ends where the rights of other people begin. And that includes children. And I think parents in some of these really conservative religious sects and courts who are adjudicating these cases lose sight of that. And I'm
Yeah.
sure Marcy can give you a lot more examples, but the one that always comes to mind for me, there are graveyards in Idaho where a particular Christian sect that refuses to seek medical care and believes in praying instead, uh, where these graveyards are just filled with children,
Mm.
just filled with kids that could be saved by things like antibiotics
Mm.
and insulin, and instead these parents effectively kill their children through religious neglect. And that is not something that I think is within a religious freedom right. I do not think they have the right to kill any more than people who claim that Jesus wants to take the wheel and would drive down a highway going 80 miles an hour without control of their vehicle have a right to risk other people's lives and health and safety. That is not something that is encompassed within religious freedom, nor should it be.